Well, what is going on? You have found the Samplers Podcast, a discussion that covers all things samplers and music technology at thedaydreamsound.com. This is episode 4, covering the topic of the barrier to entry into the production game with samplers. More specifically, is the barrier to entry so low that people with absolutely no skill can enter into the music production game and flood the entire market with subpar music? This is what we're dealing with today. And before we get started with all that, I want to thank you for joining us here at the Samplers Podcast. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so the latest major frontier in music production is that apps are now available. And these just aren't regular apps. These are music apps that are developed to be entire music workstations. There's been always a prevailing thought that the barrier of entry to music was already cheap. Right now, a complete inexperienced novice can go online and pick up a native instruments machine for under $1,000, just on a whim. Whether they were invested or not, the price has become so low that it would never impede on a curious mind that wanted to get into music, but not really. So now, with iOS apps, the price has dropped a whole lot more. Core Gadget, which is an extremely powerful and efficient suite of instruments and workstation tools, can be bought for $40 US. Intua's Beatmaker 3, which is incredibly impressive, can be bought for $24.99. So the question is, what does this mean for the quality of music going forward? And are we to feel threatened that our industry is getting watered down by those who may not be interested in a career or the sustainability of the industry as a whole? Will this hurt professionals financially? All of these questions are questions that are swirling about. And of course, the end of the conversation is, what is the solution? And for the answer to that, I think we have to look at other industries who've been plagued with the same problem, but worse. While we have it kind of bad, kind of sorta, imagine how the photography industry feels. The photography industry has been hit harder than any artistic industry that I could think of in present times. Every phone, and by the way, it's fair enough to say that everyone has a phone, has a camera on it. And those cameras just don't take regular pictures, they take great pictures. We've all seen films that were made on phones in 4K. There are photographers everywhere. There are social media sites dedicated and predicated on photos. And what does that do for the professional photographer? Have they lost work? Oh yeah. Has their art form been watered down? Oh yeah. Have photo filters and commercial software apps diminished the value of their skill in the market? Most definitely. And what has happened to those in the photography industry is that they've had to raise their game to an incredible level. Because some of the photos that we see online that are taken by everyday people are outstanding. And in order to compete with that, some people have just fallen away out of the industry and others have raised their game to a level where their work is worth paying for. And this is what I see for samplers and the entire music making process. While anybody can get their hands on any equipment they want, having access to the same tools and knowledge does not ensure that the quality and talent level will be the same. So everything, as usual, boils down to individual creativity and skill. And if we focus on becoming the absolute best artist we can by profession, competition is no longer a factor. And it really doesn't matter at that point of the game whether the general population at large has the same equipment you do. Your hours of dedication to the music and to your craft is a separating factor between what you can do and what anybody else can do. Because what will happen otherwise is just the threat of somebody with no skill having access to what you have is enough to shake the quality of your work if you let it. But realizing that unless they put in the same amount of hours that you did into your craft, there will never be your contemporary in the art form. And if they have, then they deserve to be there. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Because if music technology is this easy to get into at this moment, imagine where we'll be in about 10 years. And in 10 years, will you still be doing music, or would you have given up because it's a saturated market? That's the real question. Anyway, thank you for joining us here at the Samplers Podcast. Your presence was an absolute pleasure. We hope to see you again on the next one. And do spend some time while you're here to have a look around our website. There's plenty here in the way of sampler technology and education. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourself. Peace.